But as Peter said, I have come overnight from Washington, where I was talking to President Biden about how we ensure not just our national security, but our economic security as well in the coming decades. And on the flight back last night, I was reflecting on just how much of this security is dependent on the North. It is the North of our country that is at the heart of our plan for energy security. Carbon capture and storage in Teesside, offshore wind in Humberside, and the next generation of nuclear power, small modular reactors, could have their home in Cumbria. It is the North that is also helping to ensure that we have the critical supplies we need for the modern economy. The first large-scale lithium refinery anywhere outside of Asia is being built in Teesside. And in East Yorkshire, they're constructing the second largest magnets material refinery outside China. Now, these developments will help ensure that the future is bright for our auto industry. And it is the North that so much of our vital defence manufacturing happens. Our future combat air system is being developed in Lancashire, and our new AUKUS submarines will be built in Barrow. There they are. Now, this is all proof of what our fantastic chair, John Stevenson, says: a stronger North means a stronger Britain. And this is a government and a party that is absolutely committed to John's vision and indeed the North. Now, we know that our majority runs through the North and that there is no route to electoral success without you. Now, I know some of you have said we should have a minister for the North, but I am a Prime Minister for the North, sitting for a North Yorkshire constituency, going home when I can to Northallerton. I understand the unique challenges that the North faces, and this government will help to address them and deliver on the promise of our 2019 manifesto. Now, I believe in a fair deal for the North. When I was at the Treasury as Chancellor, I pushed through changes to the Green Book rules, which govern capital investment, to make sure that the North got the funding that it deserved. And this government is meeting the infrastructure needs of the North as we speak. And I'm proud that our £96 billion integrated rail plan, the largest single investment in rail ever made by a UK government, will give the North the connectivity the South has long taken for granted. Now, Labour's vision of the North is a narrow one. When Keir Starmer thinks of the North, if he thinks of it at all, he thinks only of the big cities: Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, Newcastle. Now, my view of the North extends far beyond that. I want us to stand for every part of the North, for the towns and the villages, as well as the great urban centres. Now, as Chancellor, I decided to open up an economic campus in the North, but I didn't want to put it in a big city. I wanted to use it to put on the map the towns that are too often forgotten. So we set up the Treasury Economic Campus in Darlington, and it has been, as Peter will tell you, and a report out just today confirms, a great success. We now also have a Prime Minister's office there, and I work out of there on a regular basis. And trust me, if you want to change how Whitehall thinks about a place, send the Prime Minister there every month. Darlington is now at the heart of our government's decision-making. And it isn't just officials and ministers making the journey up there. The other day, I saw Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, there. That is head of one of the world's biggest companies, seeing what this part of the world has to offer. And through the Towns Fund, we've been able to support many other great places. 45 towns in the North have received a total of over £1 billion of funding to help them regenerate and revitalise. Now that is levelling up in action. I want thriving towns. I want a country where you do not have to leave the place that you love in order to succeed. Now, I get that things aren't easy right now. Our economy has been hit by 2 successive shocks: COVID and the energy price spike caused by Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And as we did during the pandemic, we are supporting people. We've paid half of households' energy bills this winter, funded by a levy on the windfall profits of energy companies. We're delivering £94 billion of cost of living support. We've kept fuel duty frozen, as we have done for the last 13 years, because we know how important the ability to get around is. Unlike our opponents, we won't try and tax people off the roads. And unlike the Labour government in Wales, we won't be stopping building roads either. Now, I've told Cabinet that I want them to focus relentlessly on delivery. I know that many voters here lent us their vote. They decided that after generations of being let down by Labour, they deserved something better. And they were right. And we must show them that we are worthy of their trust and support by delivering for them. Now, I've focused the government on 5 priorities because they are what will make the most difference to people's lives. And that is why they are the people's priorities. I want to halve inflation because inflation is the enemy that makes everyone poorer. It drives up prices. It erodes savings. And any tax cut or spending commitment we make will quickly be outpaced by inflation unless we get it under control. Now, inflation is starting to fall, but we will only succeed in halving inflation if we continue to be disciplined. And that is why we cannot and will not agree to inflation-busting pay rises in the public sector. Halving inflation remains the single most important and effective policy goal to help people with the cost of living and sustainably increase living standards. Now, we've averted the predicted recession, but my ambition goes far beyond that. We need to grow the economy, and I want the North to be at the heart of our economic growth. We will use our post-Brexit freedoms to create the most pro-innovation and pro-enterprise regulatory system on earth. And that will help us as we step up our efforts to attract businesses from around the world. From Japan last month, we brought home £18 billion of investment, and in DC this week, £14 billion of new American investment into our country secured, jobs created. And as we did with the super deduction, I want to use our tax system to encourage companies to invest here. The full expensing for capital that the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt announced in the budget is akin to a £9 billion tax cut for industry. It will increase business investment by 3% every year. No European country other than us has full expensing, and no advanced economy anywhere in the world has a more generous capital allowance system than us. This is a government that is determined to back our great manufacturing businesses, many of them benefiting right here in the North. And we will get our debt down, as we must, to make sure that our public finances are sustainable. We will cut waiting lists, because it's wrong that people have to wait so long for treatment that they need and deserve. And we will use every tool at our disposal to do this. More doctors, more nurses, more community diagnostic centres, more surgical hubs, more choice for patients, and more virtual wards. And finally, we will stop the boats. Now, Keir Starmer calls our efforts to do this immoral. But I'll tell you what's immoral. Allowing a situation to continue where young children are being put on makeshift, unseaworthy craft and being sent into one of the busiest shipping lanes on earth. It's immoral that criminal gangs, not your government, can get to decide who comes into our country. And I won't let this stand. That is why, in the teeth of Labour opposition, we are changing the law so that if you come here illegally, you will be detained and removed. Now, some say this will make no difference, that the small boats are just a fact of 21st century life. I totally reject that pessimism. And we're already showing that deterrence works, and that if people know that if they come here illegally, they don't get to stay, they stop coming. Just look at how the number of Albanian small boat arrivals has fallen by almost 90% following our returns deal. It shows that with grip and determination, we can get on top of this problem. Now, the point of being in government is to make life better for people. That's what matters. Now, I know that our opponents want to drag us down rabbit holes into old arguments, to distract us by trying to turn politics back into a soap opera. But we must resist that temptation because the stakes are too high. Now, Sir Softy might not be Jeremy Corbyn, but we should be in no doubt about the dangers that a Labour government poses. Do you think for 1 second that a Starmer administration would be prioritising tackling illegal migration, delivering on post-Brexit opportunities in trade and technology? Of course not. I mean, the opposite, in fact. Now, things are tough right now. People are frustrated. But I know they are willing to give us the credit if and when we get results. Because that's what they want most, above party politics, is to believe that politicians can still get things done, that government can actually work for them, not just indulge itself. Now, if we can keep our focus and our unity, I promise you, we can and we will win. Now, I know you've been talking about the manifesto and what you want to see us achieve in the next 5 years. Now, there will be plenty of conversations to come about that, but I can tell you today that I want our manifesto to offer a distinctly Conservative vision. I want it to reflect that we are proud of our nation. We support the institutions that make it great, from the royal family to every family. We want to allow people to take back control of their lives. We are the party that believes that the individual makes better choices about their own life than the state. We know that the person in Whitehall doesn't know best. Our manifesto will reaffirm that we are the party with the energy and the ideas to change Britain. Now, Keir Starmer, by contrast, doesn't have any ideas. But don't take my word for it, take his. Last year, he signed an £18,000 deal to write a book about his vision for Britain, his ideas to make the country better. You know what? This year, he decided he needed to pay back the £18,000 because he couldn't work out what to put in the book. Turns out his vision for Britain literally is a blank sheet of paper. And when Labour do come out with ideas, they are very bad ones. Just look at their most recent proposal to ban drilling in the North Sea. It's a decision that puts ideology above jobs, above investment, above energy security. And think about it, they don't want to ban all oil and gas, they just want to ban British oil and gas. I mean, Labour's plan would make us dependent on dictators and autocrats, and it tells you all you need to know about Keir Starmer's judgment. A Starmer government would be a disaster for Britain and for the North, and we owe it to the country to not let that happen. Now, I know the secure future that we want. It is one in which every part of the UK helps drive forward growth. One where people feel pride in their community and their country. One where opportunity is spread right across this great nation of ours. So let's come together. Let's create that better future, one in which the North achieves its full economic potential. Let's build that stronger Britain, and let's build that stronger North, and let's do it together. Thank you.